What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Attack on Cowboys, and we got some very, very interesting information out of Coach Brian Schottenheimer's press conference today, including some hidden gems that have emerged during the Dallas Cowboys OTA period. Let's get right into it as we identify 5 guys that are essentially been anointed as Brian Schottenheimer guys, and one of those guys is actually very, very surprising. And actually, he may not be a Brian Schottenheimer guy, but let's get right into it, as that one was kind of surprising. I ain't gonna lie to you. And be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content on the Red. Man, shut your up. All right, so Coach Brian Schottenheimer has been discussing some of the guys that have stood out during the OTA period and some of the things that they've done to help themselves stand out. Now, one of the first guys I want to kind of discuss here is going to be Kaiir Elam, the cornerback that we traded for out of Buffalo. And Brian Schottenheimer actually was asked a question specifically about Kaiir Elam playing well in the OTA period. And Shotty had high praise for the kid. He said that he's been one of the more impressive skill position players as it pertains to actually playing at top speed throughout OTAs during this entire period. And his past struggles in Buffalo probably were just a result of fit.
So I'll start with Kaiir, obviously Florida Gator, first-round draft pick. Sometimes it's just there's issues with fit, there's issues with different things, but the talent jumps off the film. We keep track of our players' speeds, each week to see who's hitting top speeds. And like I said, the one thing I'm most proud about is the way our guys run. Pre-snap, but more post-snap, the way they run and cover. And he's been consistently at the top of the skill guys on defense with his top speeds. I think he's really taking to the system, the coaching from DA and Andre. From a confidence standpoint, he's doing great.
All right, so yeah, I'm gonna be honest. We need all the good news we could possibly get out of that cornerback room, because Trevon Diggs, by all measures, he's probably not gonna be back until late November, maybe early December. So we're really going to be counting on guys like a Kaiir Elam. We're going to be counting on guys like Savon Ravel once he gets back healthy, right? We're going to be counting on these guys, but specifically Kaiir Elam and Deone Clark are going to be charged with being some of the most important guys on this team, at least for the first half of the season, because they are going to be charged with how the roster currently stands. They're going to be charged with kind of getting us across this treacherous waters as it pertains to having young guys out there that you really don't know what you have in them, right? But Kaiir Elam has been someone that's been getting a lot of attention during the OTA period. And as far as Cowboys fans are concerned, you should definitely be keeping an eye out on him, because I have a feeling that he's going to be someone that has a huge impact on his team. I've been saying it from the jump once we got him, and I went back and did some research on the guy. He is more of a man press coverage corner. He was in more of a zone type of scheme playing with the Buffalo Bills. They were asking him to do things that weren't necessarily his strengths. I'm not going to say he was bad at, but they weren't his strengths. He wasn't really using the player to his best capabilities. And I think that Brian Schottenheimer and his staff have kind of identified how they want to use Kaiir Elam, and that's why they went and got him, because they felt like he can satisfy exactly what they need out of a corner in this defense. So hopefully that translates. Now, the next position, or position group really, I want to talk about is going to be the linebacking core, because the linebacking core has been getting a lot of love, including Kenneth Murray Jr. Now, before we start talking about the linebackers, I just want to say this. It is very shocking to me that we aren't hearing more about Marist Liufau. Marist Liufau had a very strong second half of the season last year after the Marvion Overshown went down. So the fact that his name wasn't one of the ones that was just popping off of the field as it pertains to beat reporters reporting on guys that are standing out and the coaches talking about guys that are standing out. Marist Liufau may very well be having a good OTA period, but there's guys that have apparently been having more impressive periods to the point to where their coaches need to point it out. And Kenneth Murray Jr. is one of those guys. And Brian Schottenheimer had high praise for Kenneth Murray Jr. from back when he played him in the Chargers.
Brian, looks like Kenneth Murray, who you traded for, has been running with the ones a lot through OTAs. What have you seen from him coming over from Tennessee so far?
Well, I'm going to go back. We played actually on my 50th birthday a couple years ago. We played in L.A., played the Chargers, and I remember they had him and Kendricks, and he's a great player too. But I remember going into that game really concerned about. I think he's wearing number 9, I think. But the athleticism, the power, the ability to diagnose, excellent tackler, physical. So a guy we've been watching for a couple years, he is not disappointed.
So, yeah, that kind of gives you an idea that Brian Schottenheimer and these guys, they have a high-level expectation for him. Brian Schottenheimer said it there. He was one of the guys that they were kind of having to be aware of when they were making their game plan because he has that type of impact on the field, or he's capable of having that impact on the field. Now the question is, can Matt Eberflus hone not only Kenneth Murray Jr., but can he hone the likes of a Jack Sanborn? Again, Jack Sanborn could very well end up being our version of Zach Bond this season as one of those overlooked, underhyped type of guys that comes in, puts his hard hat on, and gets it out of the mud. I would not be surprised at all if Jack Sanborn ends up being a starter on this team. And to me, that's probably one of the more shocking revelations that's come out of OTA so far. Is I really thought Maris Leofau was pretty much penciled in to be a starter. It's seeming more and more every day that, man, Jack Sanborn and Kenneth Murray Jr., they're going to be hard to beat out. And then you're going to have a 3-headed monster when DeMarvion Overshown comes back, and the depth that you'll have to work with is going to be super impressive. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Shotty had to say about Sanborn real quick before we get into the super surprise out of this group.
What else have you seen from Samborn since he's got here?
Work ethic jumps off the tape. The communication I was talking to, he has the advantage because he's been in the system. But again, I think Flus's system is so flexible, and again, we're going to always be multiple. He's also willing to lean into those guys and answer questions and be a sounding board, and that's what we want. I mean, you can be a veteran that wants to compete to be a starter, but still help some of the younger guys.
All right, so obviously, Shotty, high praise for Jack Sanborn. Worked with Matt Eberflus before, and I think that he's going to end up having a really, really good season with this Cowboys team. And the last guy that I wanted to talk about from the linebacker position group was one that was actually kind of shocking to me. Now, a reporter did specifically ask about Deone Clark, so it's not like Shotty went out of his way to bring him up, but just listen to what Shotty had to say about Deone Clark.
We talked to Deone Clark a little bit last week, too, sticking with linebackers. What have you seen in his progression with this system and how he's kind of come along this offseason?
Yeah, picked it up fast. I think the way he's diagnosing things looks quicker to me than maybe in the past. A little bit more command of it. The physical traits have always been there. And I think the connection that he has with Flus, Coach Borgonzi, I think that's important. I know most guys are that way, but I think Deone, he's such a pleaser. He wants to do things the right way, that I think that relationship that he's developed with Dave Borgonzi is incredible. And again, that's what this time of year is about as well. It's again, like we've said, what are we doing to connect the coaches to the players to the staff, and I think that Dave's done a really good job of capturing not just Deone, but really that entire linebacker room, because there's a ton of new faces in there.
Now, this was interesting to me because I really, really believe that Deone Clark will be one of those guys that was absolutely going to be taking his leave after this season. I did not think there was any chance in hell that he would end up being a Cowboy, but from what Brian Schottenheimer just said, it seems like Deone Clark's doing all the right things as it pertains to trying to keep a spot on this team. He's developing relationships. He's making sure he's doing what the coaches need him to do, and he's kind of in lockstep with the process. So if he ends up being some premium depth as a guy that has had starting experience in the NFL, but ends up being depth for us coming off the bench as a linebacker, then okay, cool. But Deone Clark absolutely is someone that I thought, for all intensive measures, was I'm just keeping it a buck, y'all. I thought Bro was gone. I'm just going to keep it a buck. But apparently, hey, Deone Clark, he's fighting, he's scrapping. He's trying to maintain that position on the roster. Now, the last guy that I wanted to kind of talk about today was going to be Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is another name that's been popping up, and someone that can end up having a much larger impact on this Cowboys team than I think most fans are realizing. I think that Miles Sanders is going to end up being a guy that gets way more carries this upcoming season than people realize. Javonte Williams was the hot name to start off training camp, but it seems like Miles Sanders has really started to get his feet up under him. He could be a threat out the backfield receiving the football, and Brian Schottenheimer himself was like, I don't understand why y'all are so surprised. Just like I told y'all, man. Y'all sit there trying to argue about Deuce. They still ain't brought Deuce's name up, but we continue to hear about guys like a Miles Sanders.
And Miles, I mean, yeah, I don't know why anybody would be surprised with Miles' ability. I mean, you know, having been in the division and played against Miles when he was in Philadelphia, you talk about a guy that's a home run threat. You talk about a guy that's got incredible, you know, just ability to hurt you running, catching the ball out of the backfield, all that stuff. Very smart, very bright. All the backs have been that way. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention they're both the right type of guy.
But either way, those are some of the hidden gems that have kind of peeked their head or reared their head during the OTA period for the Dallas Cowboys. These are some of the hottest names that you continuously hear. And next up, we wait on the mandatory OTA period, which I believe begins in like a week and a half or so, right? But either way, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below which of these 5 guys that we just discussed do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the Cowboys this season. Let me know that down in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.